The James Bond movies have been around for almost 60 years, and has taken the famous MI6 agent all over the world. Multiple actors have played him, and for the most part the series has been consistent in retaining an audience. However, there are two notable times when the producers attempted to reinvigorate excitement for 007 and take him into a new era. And interesting enough, both movies that did this were directed by Martin Campbell. They also marked the debut appearances of Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig in the role. I'm of course referring to GoldenEye and Casino Royale. I enjoyed both movies, but which do I prefer? Before I get into my thoughts on them, it's important to look at their place in Bond film history. When GoldenEye was released in 1995, it had been 6 years since the last Bond movie, License to Kill, was released. A number of people attribute this gap to the general audience being left cold by the darker tone of the Timothy Dalton movies, and in particular License to Kill performing poorly at the North American box office. However, it was not that long after License to Kill opened that the producers of the Bond series started development on the next Bond film, and a script was written. The film even started being promoted at the 1990 Cannes Film Festival the following year, and Dalton was set to star again. What really led to the 6-year gap were legal troubles with MGM, related to the studio's merger and certain television rights. This lasted a few years, but once that was settled, the producers were ready to go and excitedly called up Dalton. But Dalton's interest had waned, and he decided to step down, much to their shock and disappointment. There was a scramble to find a new Bond, which wound up being Pierce Brosnan, who had already been previously considered to replace Roger Moore. Because there had not been a new movie since 1989, the filmmakers also had to figure out a way to make the character and franchise appealing to a 90s audience. Thankfully, GoldenEye was very successful, and Bronson played 007 for 4 films. Even though his 4th outing, Die Another Day, did very well at the box office, producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson agreed with the critics that the series had gotten too ridiculous, with a heavy reliance on absurd gadgets and special effects. So for the next film, the writers were tasked with making the series more grounded and closer in tone to the Ian Fleming novels. They also decided to completely start again from scratch. While all the previous movies existed in the same continuity, albeit with a sliding timeline, Casino Royale would reboot the franchise and portray James Bond in his early years as 007. Oh, there would still be some of the staples, like the opening theme song, the Aston Martin, and even Judi Dench continuing to play M. But right from the first sequence, it's clear this is a whole new Bond. Daniel Craig was selected to play Bond, who was an uncharacteristic choice at the time, and even generated a bit of controversy. Once Casino Royale was released, though, all of the anger at his casting immediately went away, and he's become a fan favorite. I mentioned before that GoldenEye sought to bring the series into the 90s. However, it was also the first film released after the end of the Cold War, which was a pivotal part of Bond's character and some of his missions. The filmmakers smartly chose to make this a major theme of the movie, with some characters ready to move away from it, and others missing the old Soviet Union. M directly spells this out when she declares Bond to be a relic of the Cold War, and we also have the villains and their evil plot. It presents an interesting backdrop for the mission, even as it involves the usual plan to stop the baddies from blowing things up. Pierce Brosnan was able to slip into the role of Bond with ease. He displays the needed charm as well as plenty of one-liners. GoldenEye shows him frequently thinking on his feet, and he more than handles the action. In Casino Royale, Daniel Craig plays a Bond who is a bit more under the surface. We see how his personality can occasionally get the better of him, and he has his occasional vulnerabilities. Craig is often seen as one of the more serious James Bonds, but he still has plenty of funny moments, even if the one-liners are not as frequent as Brosnan and the other prior Bonds. Regarding the villains, both films portray different types of antagonists. GoldenEye has 3 central villains. There's a Russian general who I find kind of a bore and not all that interesting. We also have Gina Onatopp, who Famke Janssen plays as someone who really enjoys being evil. There's such a giddiness with which he goes about disposing of people, and Janssen finds the right note to play her. And finally, Sean Bean plays former MI6 agent and Bond's partner, Alec. It was an interesting dynamic seeing someone once his colleagues switched sides, and Bean brought the required menace. Much like how GoldenEye wanted to reflect the world still changing from the end of the Cold War, Casino Royale is very much a product of the post-9/11 era. So for the new villain, the Chief, we get someone who is not interested in taking over the world of a satellite or secret island base. He's just a banker who makes investments using bold strategies and his smarts. He then uses the money to fund terrorist attacks. This description might make him appear boring, but Mads Mikkelsen successfully depicts how cunning this man is. There's another successful change from earlier Bond villains, who are usually overconfident. With Le Chiffre, we see someone who is certainly confident about his card-playing skills, but he also has a fear of those he owes money to. That adds a further layer to the character. We also have the Bond girls, and Vespa Lynd definitely ranks among the best. She's pivotal to Bond's development, as she's not afraid of pointing out his flaws, and Ava Green is excellent in the role. The script gives her some great lines to chew on, and Green and Craig's chemistry is magnetic. She's also portrayed as unaccustomed to the level of violence Bond is prone to, and that leads to a very affecting scene. It's understandable why Bond eventually develops a thing for her, and her eventual conclusion is heartbreaking. Is Lynn there primarily to show why James Bond's later flings are one-offs? Sure, but she's nonetheless a strongly written character. Natalia in GoldenEye is okay, but I did not think she particularly stood out. I do really like the side characters in GoldenEye though, like Joe Don Baker as a CIA agent, Robbie Coltrane as an ex-KGB agent, and Alan Cumming as a sort of Russian hacker. I say sort of because his Scottish accent does slip through on multiple occasions, but he's still an entertaining presence. I also want to shout out Jeffrey Wright, who does a great job in Casino Royale as Bond's frequent American associate Felix Leiter. The action in both films are expertly directed by Martin Campbell. GoldenEye sought to be bigger than previous Bond films, as it competed with other action movies of the 90s. The opening sequence filmed at the Contra Dam in Switzerland was an exciting way to begin the movie. And the rest of the cold open did well in establishing the kind of action Campbell would bring to the film. The hand-to-hand combat scenes are great too, as is the tank chase through St. Petersburg. The climax fills the screen with explosions and gunshots, but it never becomes disorienting or tiring. In Casino Royale, we get exciting scenes like the Madagascar chase, the airport sequence, and the stairway fight. Fitting with the tone of the film, the movie does not end with the gigantic explosive finale usually common in Bond movies. The scene in Venice with the crumbling building is smaller in scale, but no less engaging, with some strong editing, great special effects, and an emotional element on top. And maybe the most heart-pounding scene is when Bond rushes to his car to stop himself from having a cardiac arrest after Le Chiffre poisons him. I will say Casino Royale contains a lot of scenes of characters playing poker, a game I don't find all that riveting or cinematic. However, the poker is an important part of the plot, and the filmmakers made sure to break it up with other scenes. A major staple of the series is the opening theme song. I've watched GoldenEye twice, and to be honest, the main theme is in one ear and out the other for me. There's nothing about it that sticks with me, although I do really like the graphics for this title sequence, which fit well with the movie's exploration of the collapse of the Soviet Union. In contrast, You Know My Name, the theme song of Casino Royale, ranks among the top James Bond songs in my opinion. It opens the movie with a bang, and the accompanying images further add to the song's power. I also like how composer David Arnold weaves the melody into the score at several points. However, only glimpses of Monty Norman's iconic 007 theme are heard throughout Casino Royale, but when it finally plays during the end credits, it's well earned. So I certainly like both films, but which do I prefer? I have to say, Casino Royale wins out for me. This is actually one of my favorite James Bond movies, and an example of why I think so highly of Daniel Craig's take. I really like how it follows a more inexperienced 007, one still trying to figure out the right use for his skills. The scenes between Bond and Vespa Lynd have the right crackling energy, and Campbell was able to craft one exciting action sequence after another. It succeeded at reinventing the franchise, but without losing what has made the character and the series so lasting. GoldenEye is fun too, even if it did not stray as far from the Bond formula as one might expect. Even though we have the standard plot of the villains who plan to eradicate parts of the world, Campbell does keep things interesting, and Brosnan makes a solid debut appearance as Bond. The action delivers what we hope for, and it becomes an entertaining ride in the end. No Time to Die will supposedly be Daniel Craig's final time playing James Bond, so it'll be interesting to see who they cast next, and what direction the series will be taken in. Now let me know in the comments whether you prefer Casino Royale or GoldenEye, and I'll see you next time.